right, guys. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Content Culture. It's your girl, Tomi. Minus Nicole today. She's not with me, but she's here with me in the spirit. And today we have two very special guests, Brandon and Brandon. I'm going to let them introduce themselves from Two Bros and a Rose. And we are very excited to have them today just because we love getting some different perspectives, and especially from some other Black people who fell into this white ass franchise. So thank you for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us, definitely.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who is who? How you guys got started? You know, like how did you even fall into starting a podcast about The Bachelorette, not even just kind of falling into
All
watching
right,
it?
so I'm Brandon Smith. I co-host Two Bros and a Rose with Brandon Pope, and actually, I started the podcast maybe 2012 without Brandon Pope. I didn't even know Brandon Pope when I first started this podcast. It was me and another guy and another girl, another woman. But I think me and Brandon got kind of connected just through our professions. We both are in TV reporters, TV anchors, and then kind of just fell into it like that. I mean, he and I had never even met when he first started joining the podcast. So, he just kind of had a good vibe to him online, and he'll kind of talk to you about how he got started in it. But he got started with Rachel Lindsay's season, and then just from his tweets, I was like, "Yo, I need to link up with him because my guy that I started it with kind of was going away from it." And him and I have been doing, I think, since maybe 17, maybe. I think that's when Rachel did hers is in 17. So yeah, we've been rocking strong since then.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are, it sounds like trailblazers. You were out here doing the Bachelor podcast before people even knew what to do.
Yeah, Rachel's season was what really is the only reason why I even watched, because it was a Black woman, and I was like, "Yo, she kind of cute, got a big forehead, but she kind of cute." I was like, I'll check this out." And so that's how I really got into it. Simple as that. And he hit me up like, "Hey, I want you to pop on this podcast," and I'm like, "You know what? Let me say a few things." And I just ripped the show. I was like, "Who's watching this? What's going on?" And I guess it wasn't enough to make me not allowed back on, because he kept asking me, and I kept doing it. So that's how it sparked. And now we are probably stronger than ever. I think the last season with the Black Bachelor, Matt, Black, he's like new Black, right? And new
Oh.
Black.
We're going there
Oh,
today.
I think
that was probably,
I was gonna say, I think that's like, how Brandon is talking. Like, I think that's what I like most about our podcast is like we are both like unapologetically Black, and this perspective from two Black guys. Just not just two guys in general. That's usually not typical of who's watching The Bachelor, but two Black guys with this white ass franchise, and we keep it super Black, and I don't believe that I don't think I've ever edited anything out. I mean, we stay true to ourselves, and we want a perspective from two Black guys, and especially in his last couple seasons we've had Black women on too. So it is very Black centric, and you just gotta keep up with us or you're gonna get flown over.
exactly. Sometimes I'm like, our white listeners, I'm like, are they rocking with us still? Like, how they feel about this cookout going on? But
I mean, I know, I feel that. I feel like, but that's also another reason for people to tune in, right? Because most of your feedback and stuff that you're hearing from Bachelor Nation is so predominantly white, and your Reddit spaces on Twitter. And I know something that I enjoy, my husband is white, but I enjoy talking with him about, perspectives of the show, just because I feel like from a male perspective watching it, you might react differently to how I'm feeling. So you ever feel that if you're like on Twitter or something like that you guys are just like, are we watching the same show right now? Because I mean, I know, especially with those dates recently with the rain happening on Greg's dates, I was talking to one of you saying like, this is anti-Black for me, because you're about to get my hair wet like this twice. It's over.
yeah, I mean, we think about things in a way that others don't, right? And I approach the show as a person who isn't necessarily a huge fan of the show. I think it's fun to make fun of. And so I look at these things they do, and looking at it from just my Black ass lens and the way modern dating works, I'm just like, yo, this is a backwards concept. What are they doing? What is going on? But it opens up a lot of conversations too,
Sure.
about modern dating and romance and relationships. And I think that is where that's probably where the show probably is still able to exist, is because it does get you thinking and talking about the stuff we're going through now.
Yeah,
You know?
and to
Yeah.
piggyback off that, it's definitely the perspectives can be different as far as Black people watching it, as far as not non-Black people watching it, as far as men watching it, as far as women watching it, and that's kind of the gimmick, if you want to say, in the podcast, is that it's one thing for him and I just to BS about it and talk, but we have to have the woman on there to keep us straight and keep us level and make sure we're not teetering out. If we cross that line, she or we may have one or two women on it that they'll bring us back, reel us in, and just again, two male perspective, like we're going to look at things differently and say things a different way, and we'll get it back on feedback from Twitter and things like this, and women saying like, you guys need to listen to the roses on your show, and you're like, you guys looking at it all wrong, and Pope and I love that back and forth of just like, look, we hear y'all, but y'all need to hear us too,
Well, yeah, because
I
part
like
of it's about holding the ladies accountable, but in a healthy way. I think nowadays, when you hear that, you think Kevin Samuels, and we're not like two Kevin Samuels dudes out here. We ain't out here rating women.
Oh my gosh! But it's all about having a healthy discussion about all of it, and I'm glad you kind of said that you approach it in the same way. You're like, I'm not really seriously watching it of like, wow, look at this beautiful love story, because that's kind of how I also fell into it. I started watching it in college when I had a bunch of roommates. I went to a predominantly white school at Auburn down south, so I was like, sure, let me try and fit in, see what all these people are talking about every week, and I started off just making fun of it every week and seeing how ridiculous it was. And here I am, like, I don't know, 6-7 years later. And I'm like, damn, I'm still here watching it. And every time I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Because there are multiple storylines that I'm just like, this is problematic. This is wrong. And especially with Matt James season, which we'll get into in a second. But I was like, I don't know if I can still do this, guys. So I'm a little hesitant for Michelle season coming up, but we will see what happens.
I will say, like, I probably would not have still been doing this podcast if it wasn't for like the relationship Brandon Pope and I have got. Like, our chemistry is great. Like, him and I will talk offline a little bit and say, man, this season, this episode is trash. But when we get together and then we bring in whoever else is with us, we could make it fun and things like that. I'm the same way. Like, I never watched this show for the romance, for the love story. Like, I wanted to find the funny in this, and as you said, we'll talk about Matt James season. That season was harder at times because there were some legitimate issues that needed to I think it was good for people to hear Brandon and I talk about that stuff and just our perspective and things like that, because we can joke around and find the funny and things, but again, some of that stuff on his season just that was just nasty how they were doing some of that stuff. And, we were able to break that down and still have some fun with it. But it was good to, rope you in with the funny, but then we'll hit you over the head with some knowledge as well.
Yeah. And I kind of, while we're here, let's just go ahead and get into it. So I know initially you approached this show as like escapism, a way to just kind of be entertainment. Did you ever want to have these pushes to have more diverse casting or leads, or because you can kind of see, they're not going to give it the due diligence that it's required, and especially now that we've seen it with the Matt James type of season, it's been that way? Or have you felt like, yeah, this is a step in the right direction, and that because of the popularity of the show, it could be a great conversation and push forward for the culture as a whole?
It's rough. That whole Chris Harrison stuff and all the stuff that went down, it did raise a lot of important conversations. I'm just not sure that people were really listening or were really willing to have those conversations through their beloved Bachelor franchise, right? And I think you saw that, and you still hear that. And we were like, "Oh, I still miss Chris Harrison. It's just not the same." Oh, Chris! And it's like, all he did
what does he add to the show? Like,
what does he add?
A couple
All he
teams.
really
That's
does
pretty
is
much
show
it.
up and pretend he's their friend.
Yeah.
He says a few lines. Like, I always joke, I'd like to have his job. I told him I want to have his job. I told him to his face, let me get his job. Like, because it's easy. He catches all these checks for just being like, this is the final rose tonight. Or, just got to follow your heart. Yeah, that's all you got to do. It's an easy job. But yeah, being able to have those conversations, though, is key. And I do think it did force some uncomfortable conversation, not in the Emmanuel Acho way, but some real uncomfortable conversation on
Mhm.
race and things like that. And I think we have good diversity on our show. I mean, you got two black guys talking. We bring on black women. One of the white women we have on, she's in a relationship with a black man, so that was always a key component and good element to have when
Mhm.
talking about the Matt James situation and his dynamic, what was going on. I just think it's about having healthy conversations, and any way we can help raise that and elevate that, I think is a win.
I mean, I go back and forth on it, especially with the Matt James season. How it was announced. Right in the
Right.
the middle of the racial reckoning of America,
Like a
and
Band-Aid.
trying to tell us that this was already in the works, and they did this whole promo with Matt James saying first Black Bachelor, and granted, this man doesn't even feel comfortable in his own black skin because he kept on saying, I'm biracial and things like that. So, again, I go back and forth to how serious they really want to be. And, was that just a band aid or were they really serious? And, again, you hype up this first Black Bachelor. And, it was a little unfair to Matt James that he was cast as this Black Bachelor again because he definitely wanted to bring in his other side and made that, make that a point too. So, again,
Mhm.
you have your main audience, right? And I'm not going to be mad at you for placating to that audience. I mean, you know where your bread is buttered, but don't try to make it like you really care about what black people think when, I don't really believe
Sure.
that you do. Matt James is a black face that could, for a lot of the white audience, they could be like, okay, this dude is, black enough, passing as black, but Pope and I did a
Right.
podcast before this, right? Basically, when this was announced, and we could, again, not to say Matt has to act a certain way, but they picked a black guy to fit their white audience, is what I'm saying. And it's just, if they're going to go all the way with the black thing, doing the Black Batch, I would want somebody that's more comfortable in their black skin, and not get on the first episode and say, "Yo, what if I don't pick a black woman?" Like,
Mhm.
you're showing your cards early, my man. Like, and that just
Yeah.
that upset us how that kind of was going, and things like that. So yeah,
Remember that whole opening pep talk he got from Chris Harrison about
It was the most awkward thing I've ever seen. I was like, first of all, why is Chris
yeah,
Harrison here?
yeah. That's your lifeline.
Why is he the one having this
Yeah, like
conversation?
yeah. It's so yeah. I mean, all that part was just, again, that's something I don't think like a lot of white people would like understand or
Even think
pick up,
about.
and like, yo,
Yeah.
no, you Pope and I are about to get on this podcast, and we're going to hit y'all over the head with some stuff like, yo, pay attention because they're just putting a band-aid on this and stuff like that. So yeah.
the biggest issue right now for me is that it's not so much black leads, which are important, but do you
Mhm.
have black producers, black
Right.
people behind the scenes? Because there's a lot of things that happened where I was like, they could have asked a black person and probably got some consultation on this, and it wouldn't have happened. Like this whole
Mhm.
little story angle with his dad,
Right.
playing off of these tropes that black men and fathers, they don't have fathers in their lives, and this is true to some degree, but it's also like, why does the first black
Yeah.
bachelor have to have daddy issues, right?
Correct. Yeah.
If they had a black producer or someone behind the scenes who was black, they could that felt empowered to editorially and creatively contribute to the
Mhm.
product. That could probably not happen, and maybe that we don't have what we ended up seeing. But it's a lack of a lens for an audience beyond a white female audience, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big issue with the franchise.
And I think it just started off so strong and, historic in so many ways. First Black Bachelor, the most diverse cast
Yes.
ever. Like, it seems like it was going really well in terms of their planning. And then I think Rachel Lindsay's
Mhm.
most recent interview was a very illuminating of how they're just not doing anything more than that on the front line. She talked about casting black men that were not interested in
Mhm.
black women, and other things of having producers that they got specifically for the more diverse cast, but not one for her specifically that understood her needs as a black woman in that space. And so, it's just kind of how you were talking about earlier, that you need to have it from all sides, right? Where it's not just a casting, but you have people in the room that are creating, because they create these storylines that shape the perception of these cast members, and that's why they're coming off of these shows with less followers or not as many opportunities and stuff, because they're not giving space and abilities for them to have the same success.
Yeah, exactly. And it's frustrating to see, because clearly there is an audience beyond just the white female audience. This is evidence of that, right? You gotta, if the show is going to survive, at some point they're going to have to adapt, because ratings have been falling for the Bachelor and Bachelorette franchise over time. And I think a lot of that is the world is becoming more diverse. America is becoming more diverse, and it's just not realistic anymore. It never was realistic, but it isn't realistic, especially now, to go on TV and see a white lead with a bunch of white people and like one or two black people like that. And then they're gone early. They're like gone in the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
That is so incongruous to what reality actually is. And for reality television, it doesn't make any sense. Reality television, the word reality kind of still has to be in there to some degree. Yeah, a lot of it's scripted nowadays, but still what attracts us to it is we feel some sort of realism. And you don't have that right now with the Bachelor franchise, because we don't see it. We don't see the diversity reflected in what our real world is.
And I think for me also, I hate that it's so formulaic. Like, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen from promos and just how they're setting up things of, oh, that person's going to be eliminated, or like, oh, that person has kids, they're not going to make it to the very end, stuff like that. And I feel like every single season, it's the same. These ratings are plummeting, like you're saying. And I think since they're still winning their time slot and their demo, like, they're still fine because they're like, we're still making money, whatever. But they're going to really have to try to come up with different ways. And I think, do you guys watch Love Island at all? They're a very good blueprint.
I've heard that is a lot better as far as casting and things like that. I heard it's a lot better, but I have not gotten to Love Island yet.
Where is Love Island? Where do I watch it?
You can.
Where is it?
Let me just give it all. So it's a Hulu, Paramount Plus, all of that type of stuff. But UK and US are a little bit more diverse. And especially this season with season 3 of the US, you have like a love triangle happening, like where they're like the main storyline. I'm like, I'm not used to this. Screen time. It's a nice to see. And they're still having issues as well of bringing in black people, black men who like black women. But there's a shift and there's moving forward, and they had a commitment to having like 50% of their cast for any reality TV shows going forward would be people of color. And that's what their thing was in 2020. So I'm kind of seeing, how ABC is still kind of far behind here in terms of their commitments.
I mean, even look at Love is Blind. I mean, I think a lot of shows are behind the ball still. Love is Blind a little bit, because even the black man you had wasn't really...
Are you talking about Carlton?
Yeah. He had one black guy, and that black guy ended up blowing up on the woman, and the whole fiasco.
Yes. And
he was insecure about his sexuality and all that type of stuff. It's like, let's just do more than one black guy. Huh? We got to get these shows to give us more diversity, because the reality is, if you live in Charlotte, if you live in Chicago, if you live in many of these major metros, New York City especially, you see way more people of color than you do white people nowadays. If you walk around the street, you're going to see, way more people of color than you do whites, at least depending on your neighborhood. But that's my experience. So it just doesn't make any sense when I'm going on TV and I'm like, white. Oh, there's a black guy. White. It doesn't work.
Do you think that with the casting of Matt James and kind of all these conversations and stuff that have happened now, do you think this has helped or hurt the franchise in terms of like moving forward? Do you think we're going to see another Black Bachelor anytime soon?
I honestly, I don't think so. Like, I mean, again, they know their core audience, right? And I can understand how that audience can be jarred by the scene of a black guy kissing on all these white women, right? And so, look, I don't want to get like super deep into this, but Matt James season, the very first thing you saw Matt James season was his white mother. And so, like, I'm thinking people at home, for their audience, their main audience, are like, okay, he's definitely like black looking. You wouldn't think he was mixed. I don't think a lot of people would think he was mixed. But then, first scene, we're gonna show his white mother to, give that sense of, for that audience, like, look, okay, he's okay in a sense, you know. And it was just, again, he had that perfect type of, you know, if you're gonna pick a black guy, I feel like that was just the perfect match. You know, you had the white mother. He was a former Division I football player. You know, he had friends from the Bachelor franchise that were white, and so yeah, I mean, it's just, again, I don't want it to be one of these basically like plant type of black dudes that they put on the show, and you're just like, all right, what are we doing? I'm just, might as well just have your regular Pete's and Josh's and things like that if you're just gonna try to fake it with the black guy. So, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm not really too optimistic that, you know, we're gonna have what I would consider more of like a genuine black guy as a lead, but who knows?
Yeah.
Listen, them not casting Mike Johnson as the Bachelor tells us everything we need to know.
Yeah.
That was the perfect opportunity and the perfect setup for your first Black Bachelor. And even this past season with Katie, this season we got going on, Andrew would be a great Bachelor. You can guarantee he's not going to be the Bachelor. Yeah. I don't think they're going to do another black man Bachelor for a very long time. Ever. I really don't. And I just, part of that's just natural pessimism that me as a black person has about this stuff. It tends to be kind of like, here's one.
Be quiet.
There you go. It's
right.
the same way I feel about Barack Obama. We're probably never going to have a black president again. Like you got your one. Yeah. Congrats. We'll see how Michelle's season goes, because I didn't expect a black woman again for a long time. So I'm excited for Michelle's season and to see how that goes. I wish the pool of men was better. They all kind of look kind of doofusy. But, you know, aside from that, I am pessimistic about a new black male lead anytime in the future, because we've seen them pass on so many good opportunities to do so already.
Yeah, Mike was the one that was extremely shocking to me. I'm like, you have a vet?
Yes.
You have a vet here.
Yes, you could have sold that. Like, you could have, yes.
I was like, that is your core audience. They love that.
Yep.
And you still were like, no, we're going to pass over for the guy who no one knows, and then be concerned of why your ratings are plummeting.
And, you know, even Mike is light-skinned, you know, so at least you that's a concern. Yes. There's at least that. He was good-looking. I think he was pretty universally loved.
Yeah.
Like,
Can we back up for that? Because I was actually having a debate with that with my co-host. Is he light-skinned?
I know.
Mike Johnson.
Look, this is what I say. To this show, because Brandon and I talk about this a lot with the colorism thing, and I have like a big deal with how they, especially the women, how they cast a lot of mixed or light-skinned women. And I think Mike to the show is black. Like, I don't think people would be like, he's light skinned. Like, to me, for this franchise, he'd be black. Like,
that's more of our thing. We do the light skin, dark skin. That boy light. Look at this. This is a light.
No. I pulled up the photos. I've done the photo collage.
Wait, so what do you think?
I pulled up the paper bag to my. I think this is a brown skin man.
Yes.
But I'm Nigerian, so like when I'm thinking, oh, this is a dark skinned person, I'm thinking Sudan. Sure. You know, I'm thinking, so it's very hard for me in comparison.
On the spectrum of, like, you know, coffee with no sugar or cream, he's the coffee with all the sugar and cream. This guy got a lot of sugar and cream going on.
I guess because my comparison is like Steph Curry.
Yeah, same. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's not, you know.
Well, he's the opposite end of the spectrum.
Of the light skin spectrum.
Then you got Wesley Snipes on the other end.
But yeah, I think also like with the women too, like you were saying, it's mixed women, it's light skinned women. Yes, it's another black woman, but it's not a monoracial black woman since Rachel. So I'm also kind of intrigued of when that will happen again, if it'll happen, if I even want to see it unfold on TV, just because of what we've seen so far.
Look, I stand Michelle, and if they break her heart, I will be swooping in, because what a gem, teacher. And if you've heard the podcast, you know a lot of my other thoughts about Michelle.
Oh,
I won't get too into it, but I love her.
Does this mean that you would try to apply for this season? Well,
so people actually nominated me for this season, but I think The Bachelor is scared of me. I think the franchise is scared of me. I'm not just a black guy. I'm a bigger black guy with a beard. They ain't ready.
Like,
They
we don't
ain't
know how to
ready.
work with this.
And I'm not gonna play the little games, okay?
Mm.
Will I be a villain? Who knows? But I ain't gonna sit here and like producers like, oh, you should do this. I'll be like, nah.
You hear
Today's
all
my
this. You hear
me
this,
time.
all this talk, Tomi. He would be out. They probably get him out here the very first episode, and all this, and we'd be like, "Yo, we'd be out here the watch
Packing up.
party for Pope." Like, oh, he about to do it. This man out the first episode. I'm like, yo,
I get 2 scenes. They don't even show my limo entrance. I'll get 2 scenes. And the reaction shot. It's me like shocking somebody.
Oh my god. So would either of you, Brandon, would you go on The Bachelor?
See, when I first started watching this show, I was very aware of that at that point there had been no Black Bachelor. So when I first started watching this show and doing the podcast, that was like kind of my gimmick. Like, yo, come on, like let's get me on now. Let's just do this. Let's break some barriers. But now, as a happily engaged man, I'm gonna just pass that over to Brandon Pope. So he's gonna carry the torch for us. And actually, I honestly don't even know if I could even handle this show because I'm a little bit older, so I'm an ageist now, and I always make fun of like, okay, 25 and under. No, what are we doing? Like, what kind of conversation are we going to have with you and things like that? So no, my time has passed. You know, I don't think I could have handled this Bachelor franchise.
Yeah, and especially when I hear kind of the stories that come out of there from even like Ben Higgins is still talking now about how they like completely wrecked him while he was filming. They would like follow him into the bathroom where he was basically never alone. I'm like, is it worth it? Just for the money, the followers? I don't know.
It might be just for trying to get attention, get your likes up, get some influencer money and sponsor content deals and stuff. Why not? Honestly, that's why I would do it. And y'all can play this back. If I ever get on there, I'm not there for the right reason. I don't know.
That is something that really does annoy me about this show, though. I'm like, why are we still here in 2021 using this as an excuse? We know none of you are here because you're in love with this person. You didn't even know who this person was when you signed up to be cast.
Yes, the show has like jumped the shark, right? I mean, back when it started in 03, I believe, 02, 03, it made sense to maybe be on here a little bit more for love and whatever or whatnot. But you know, with how social media is now, I'm on there to get it popping. If you're not on there now to get your followers up, what are you doing? Why are you out here trying to fall in love on TV? Nah, right. I'm trying to get these followers, and we about to get some endorsements.
But I'd like for them to lean into that more. They need to lean into the social media chaos. They need to have some more disgruntled exes or side chicks just pop up out the woodwork and be like, oh, we were just talking on Tinder the other day. What's good? We need that flavor of love, chaotic energy. That show
DeMario scene was like the best. Wasn't that? He's like, oh,
that was perfect. That was one of the best.
See, so I always go back and forth on that scene. I'm like, dang, Rachel, black woman, then the brother out here wilding. Got the side chick, and she out here, he stepped out the key to the house.
And the Facey Bailey's acting like all shot.
It just played into like all the stereotypes. Like it was
but it was very funny.
With the white girl and Rachel, like, yo, my man, like, yeah. Poor DeMario.
I was like, I'll accept it once. I'll accept it once for the storyline. Any other time, it can be some trifling white guy, but it was pretty good. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I do want to ask final questions so you will be watching Michelle's season, obviously, because you said that you're fans of Michelle. But any predictions on the rest of Katie's season? I don't know if you guys are spoiled or not. If you want to give quick thoughts on the Greg situation, you can share that too, even though this will be kind of airing a little bit later.
Well, we are anti-spoilers here at Two Bros and a Rose, so we try to avoid them, even though, unfortunately, with Matt's season, the spoilers are everywhere. So
I mean,
that was unavoidable, so we just kind of like, we got bombarded.
There's too many TikToks. There's too many TikToks out there that was just giving it all out.
For you. I mean, honestly, from the way they cut the show, from all the stuff, you're like, this is how it has to be.
Right. I had a friend who was on Claire's season that spoiled something for me. He thought I just already knew, so he just assumed. He was like, oh, yeah, by the way, Rachel. Like, oh, thanks.
Oh, my gosh. Wait, who was the friend? Can you share?
Garen Flowers.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He didn't have a lot of screen time, but he did the
Yeah,
naked
yeah.
dodgeball. So as far as Katie's season goes, she will not find love at the end of this. My friend Katie, she is going to. I only say that because we follow each other on Clubhouse, which no one uses anymore.
Hey, it's there.
She is not going to find her guy. The Greg thing was just a mess. The dude, I was on his side for a little bit. And then he started to get dramatic, and it started to feel like, oh, you're trying to use this as an excuse to get out. You're trying to leave. You
Mm-hmm.
want to go home. Because she apologized numerous times. She's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He's like, nah, my heart's already hurt. Can't do it.
And I heard
Blake
the
is
fight was
already
actually
leaving.
hours long too, and they just cut it down to what we saw then.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, I wish Katie's season was better, to be honest. It hasn't been a great season. And honestly, I think the season kind of hurt her image a little bit because I think she came in as everyone liked her personality on the last season, and now we're seeing some things where we're like, maybe you're not so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you kind of
I do like that I do like the sex positive thing that the theme of her season, especially at the beginning. I think that was neat to show a woman like being sexually empowered and things like that. That you don't, it's usually the man that gets to, to be the, the sexual creature and things like that. And Katie's definitely comfortable in that. As far as the Greg situation, I'm kind of, where Pope is there. Like I was feeling for him at the beginning, especially within the context of my man said they went on that basketball date, right? And he said, I haven't played basketball essentially since my dad died. So I was like, okay, his headspace, I already see where my man is headed. So his nose wide open, heart open, like my man is deep in this. So like initially I was feeling like I could understand his perspective of like, yo, I need you to tell me that show's over. We getting hitched right now. But after she told him basically like, yo, calm down. We got this. Just let me get through these next couple of eliminations. Yo, my man, he just burst, like he just couldn't hold it in. And yeah, I think as Pope said, like I think my man was at that point, he's like, yo, man, get me out of here. Like you embarrassed me. I did this date with, brought up my dad, and now I said how he left a void in my heart, and now you're fulfilling that, and then you can't even tell me I love you. Like, nah, I'm out of here. So yeah, I don't think she finds love. And shouts to our guy Justin, black guy that's gonna, furthest black guy that's ever made it. We want to give him a shout out. I don't think he's gonna be at the proposing to her, but yeah, that's just how this season is ending with the Michael thing with the who had the kid, and then the Greg thing here, and then the guy with the guy the cat costume, like basically knowing he's about to get broken up with him, but still letting her finish it out. Like, yo, these last few eliminations of these men, it's in a sense like Brandon has said,
brutal.
Katie's kind of Q rating has maybe went down a little bit.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on and chatting today. You can do a quick plug. Where can everyone find you, listen to you, follow along? Because I'm sure they will be obsessed now as I am, because I definitely hit subscribe a couple weeks ago when I was listening to your episodes.
Yeah, Two Bros and a Rose. That's the podcast. Wherever you guys listen to podcasts, that's where you can bring it up. We are on Twitter. We are super active on show night, live tweeting the show. Not on Instagram yet, maybe one day, but usually Twitter, we're doing a lot of stuff there. And podcasts come out every Tuesday morning. As soon as you wake up Tuesday morning, yo, it is right there. We are serious about getting this out there to people and being consistent with that. So yeah, and you can find us on Instagram. We put our stuff within the handles on the description of the show and things like that. And we love feedback. Pope, I don't know if you want to add anything else about how to reach us and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we might get an Instagram at some point, but we're just doing the Twitter thing for now. It's like Twitter's popping. We're both Twitter guys, and that's where you could do memes and have a lot of fun and conversation during the show. So yeah, follow us on Twitter at Two Bros and a Rose. Podcast every Tuesday. Like, subscribe, all of that. Comment, and hey, be part of the fam. It's a real cool communal vibe, and my favorite thing I hear from people is that they feel like when they listen to our podcast, they're having a conversation with friends. And I love to hear that. And we want to maintain that no matter what. So come hang out with your boys.
Love it, love it. Thank you guys again, and we will see you next week on Content Culture, guys. Bye.